Hi, everybody. It's Chris from Guilty Words, where we unravel crime one word at a time. We're taking a look again at Sarah Boone because Sarah Boone talks a lot, and Sarah Boone writes a lot, and Sarah Boone lies a lot. But by looking at exactly what she says and comparing it to what others say, we can piece together what may have happened the night that George Torres died. And it's a little bit different, actually a lot different than what Sarah claims. And there's one particular word she said that shows her state of mind and intention beyond anything else. Let's take a look at it together. Sarah claims that she and George were having a wonderful evening. They had a bottle of wine, they were doing some puzzles, they were doing some artwork, and then they had this grand idea to play a game of hide and seek. Now, I'm a little confused about this because, and tell me in the comments if I'm off base here, but usually the point of hide and seek is one person will hide and the other person looks for them. So how is climbing into a suitcase, laughing supposedly, and asking Sarah to zip you up and find you a version of hide and seek? I'm not following that. If anybody can figure that out, please let me know. One of the first questions the officers asked when they arrived on the scene was, "Where was the suitcase?" And Sarah said, "It's just where you found it." George had pulled it out because he was going to put some donations in it. I have a couple of problems with that. She said it very glibly, but first of all, the suitcase was just where the police found it, and George brought it downstairs to put donations into. The suitcase was in good shape, obviously, because a grown man couldn't force his way out of it when he was desperate to save his life. But even so, he was going to use it to put donations in. Most people would use a box or a bag, something where they could just leave it right at the donation station and not have to worry about losing it. But he wanted to bring this nice suitcase along. And even so, if he were going to bring a suitcase, you would think that it's probably clothes he would be donating, and the clothes would be upstairs. So wouldn't the suitcase be upstairs? And I actually think it was, where it normally would be in a closet or in the bedroom. And then what happened? Well, I think it was upstairs until it was downstairs, and it came down those stairs with George in it. So what do I think may have happened? Why do I think the suitcase was upstairs and came downstairs with him in it? Well, let me explain. So Sarah got drunk and ugly. We know from her ex-husband that when she drank a lot, she could get extremely angry and sometimes even violent. And we also know that she was angry with George. That horrific little 2-minute clip where she's laughing at him while he begs her to let him out of the suitcase. She says she's angry with him because she thinks he cheated on her, and also he's tried to choke her. At various times they had both inflicted violence upon each other. It wasn't a happy evening of games. Sarah was upstairs and got George up there somehow, and she enticed him into the suitcase, maybe with a promise of, well, personal time later. That's the best I can say on YouTube. Somehow she got him to go into it. And then she zipped him up and she pushed him down the stairs. And there are two reasons I think that. One is because there was a neighbor who reported late in the evening hearing something falling down the stairs like a person. I think it was a suitcase. Plus, he had several bruises and scratches and contusions when they did the autopsy that they couldn't explain. And that would make sense if he had fallen down the stairs in a soft-sided suitcase. She was strong enough to move him in the suitcase because in that, again, horrific video, at one point she had flipped the suitcase over with him in it. On the body cam footage of the officer who was one of the first ones on the scene and questioning Sarah about what happened, Sarah's giving her explanation of the night, and when she talks about the suitcase part of it, she says something very, very significant. Let me play you the clip, and then let's talk about it.
And at some point, you put him in the suitcase?
No, he got in the suitcase. So He thought it would be funny to be put in the suitcase. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to joke with you and I'll zip you up and make him, squirm a little bit, whatever it is. But then I fell asleep.
Now, did you hear that sentence? She wanted to make him squirm. That's different than, oh, I wanted to play a joke on him. I wanted to scare him a little bit. Oh, I just wanted to see if he could fit in there. Make him squirm. That word squirm has a lot of significance. Let's break it down. Now, the word squirm essentially means to wriggle, but it means a lot more than that. Actually, let's toss your mind back to your freshman year of English class if you're from the United States. And when you took a poetry class, you may have heard the term onomatopoeia, which is what we call it when a word sounds like its definition. Say, like, for example, the word buzz. Squirm is almost like that. It has squirmy feeling when you say it. But more than that, there's levels of power within the word squirm. Whoever or whatever is doing the squirming is of a lesser station than whoever or whatever it is that's making them squirm. For example, if you talk about children squirming in their seats because they don't have their homework done, well, you've got the teacher there who's holding them accountable for it, and they're feeling uncomfortable. Squirm usually implies, when you're speaking about people, that whoever is doing this squirming is of a lesser status or lesser power than whoever it is that's judging them and making them squirm. So when Sarah says, I wanted to make him squirm, she wanted to have the power. She wanted to watch him essentially crawling like a little worm or wriggling like a little worm, which, considering what he had to do to get into that suitcase, has kind of a double meaning. She wanted to be in charge, and she wanted to punish him. She wanted him to feel uncomfortable, and she wanted him to know she was in charge and she was angry. This was no game night of doing puzzles and having a nice glass of wine and playing a silly little game. This was an angry woman who was taking her revenge. So what conclusions can we draw from this? A few different ones. First of all, this was no game of hide and seek gone wrong. This was deliberate and considered. It wasn't a happy night of doing puzzles and artwork and sharing a glass of wine. There was underlying anger, seething underlying anger on her part. She wanted to make him suffer. She wanted to make him squirm. She wanted to enjoy his suffering, and that's borne out by that video. I have a link to it in the description below, but I have put a trigger warning next to it. It is incredibly disturbing. And she didn't forget him and go to sleep. She left. The big question is, did she intend to kill him or not? I don't think she intended to murder him. I think she intended him to spend the night in the suitcase, and she'd let him out when she felt like it, several hours later, and he'd be all cranky and stiff and sweaty and angry and whatever. But when he did die, her attitude and belief is that since she didn't mean to kill him, she should just be exonerated. She has no sense of the fact that she needs to take personal responsibility for her part in his death. She has this idea that since she fell asleep, that she should get a free pass. And because she likes to throw grown-up temper tantrums, she just figures if she says something loud enough and over and over and over and louder and louder and louder, that people will believe it's true. She hasn't learned yet that people look at the facts and they interpret the facts. But she will be learning when it comes time for her trial. Thank you for stopping by today. I really appreciate your time. And if you have any thoughts on what you think happened that night between Sarah and George, please put them in the comments below. It would be a really interesting discussion. And if you've enjoyed this content and you'd like to see more, I'd love to have your subscription. Until we meet again in the next video, please use your words wisely and well. Take care.